Welcome to Season 3 of Unlock Your Child's Full Potential, where we focus on the mindset shifts, practical tools, and strategies that empower us to positively and effectively influence our kids. Friend, if you're still struggling with reactivity in those emotional parenting moments, like I sometimes do, whether it's losing your patience or raising your voice, today's episode is just for you. In this episode, I sit down with energy healing specialist Natalie Bedard to unpack the reasons we get rattled when our kids misbehave. We explore how we can create a greater sense of safety in our bodies, grounding ourselves so we can respond with calm rather than react. Natalie shares practical ways to calm the nervous system, helping us parent from a place of peace and connection. While managing emotions is hard for kids, it's also tough for us as parents. And by the way, if you want to dive into supporting your kids with big feelings, check out episode 38 with Laura Reardon. It's a must listen as well. Today, though, we're focused on our inner work, because when we prioritize our own regulation, we are better equipped to support our children in theirs. So without further ado, here's Natalie Bedard. Natalie, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, and I am delighted to be sharing this space with your listeners.
To start, I always love to hear about your story, what inspired you to become an energy healer, and how your journey has shaped the important work you're doing today.
Well, I came about this almost 11 years ago. I almost died. I had lesions in my brainstem and in my cerebellum, and I was hospitalized for almost 40 days. And in that hospitalization, they did a battery of tests to try to identify, a diagnosis of what was causing the lesions. Yet they couldn't find what was the cause. So I was released without a diagnosis. So that means without a plan. So I had to learn a lot from within and my inner world and understanding my nervous system. And I had a front row seat with these lesions of seeing these chemical drops that were going on and my belief systems and the impulsivity. And a year after that, I learned meditation in the form of TM, transcendental meditation. And when you learn that, they tell you twice a day for 20 minutes, meditate, yet cultivate a quiet space in your house. Well, I was a solo parent to 3 boys, and I had twins that were the age of 5. Solo parent, twins, quiet space, that's not happening. So I brought meditation to the couch, and I got to see how when they were fighting, the TV was on, something dropping, I could see where it was disrupted, make it quieter. What are they doing? Trying to figure out what was going on. And I would just bring it back to come to the breath, come to the breath. Just listen. Don't react. Don't try to stop it. Just create the safety in the breath. You're okay. Even though it feels overwhelming and, your hairs are on end or you're predicting what you think is going to happen between the twins or whatnot, just stay with your breath. Allow curiosity to just be out there without having to take action right now. And the more I did that, the more it helped to regulate my nervous system. And it also allowed me to do that somatic release of a lot of trauma that I had when I was a child and really feeling my authentic emotions. So the more I navigated in this inner terrain, I got to understand more of that nervous system and that regulation and how we really don't know how to feel our authentic emotions. We intellectualize a lot of things and we project. And, I got to understand more of why I become the neurotic parent with the twins and take accountability for my stuff. No longer being in the blame game, it's them. It's like, no, it's what is my I statement is my empowerment. It's very easy to be like you, and it's very seducing, yet that's not where the power is. And if you're willing, I would really love to bring us into a mindful moment to allow the listeners to see by taking just a 2-minute pause, how they can empower themselves in their breath.
I would love that.
And, most listeners listen to a podcast while driving, so safety first. When I ask Billy and myself to close our eyes, please do not keep them open. yet the other prompts you're able to follow through. So Billy, I'll ask you to get comfortable in your seating, and if it's safe to do so, gently close your eyes. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. You're not going to try and control your breath. You're just going to be aware of its rhythm, allowing it to guide you into your body. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up. It's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, creating space between the awareness and the thoughts, and dropping deeper into your body, allowing yourself to just be with the breath. Again, more thoughts may have popped up. Bring that awareness to your breath, beginning again, creating even more space between the awareness and the thoughts, and dropping deeper into your body. And just being with the breath. Now, at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes while staying with the breath.
Oh, that was amazing. So grounding.
And these are the tools that we can use for ourselves. It's not easy at the beginning because we're in patterns of impulsivity and overwhelm from the nervous system. Yet the more that you practice this, the more that you know to access your breath, because your breath is always in the present moment. We are always in the now, even though people are like, oh, I need to get to the now. It's just that you're stuck in your head. You're in the past or the future trying to control things. Yet when you can bring your awareness to your breath, it's always in the now. It's always in the present. And when you put your awareness on your breath, then you come to start to feel what's going on internally. And we're not really taught to, what are we feeling? What's going on internally that may be hijacking our behavior and polarizing our perception.
Yeah, and this is how I wanted to start actually, because in my parenting journey and on this podcast, we often talk about building a firm and kind parenting toolkit, which blends perfectly with keeping our nervous system regulated so we can create that peace, joy, and cooperation we want at home. And a frazzled nervous system is something most parents struggle with. And I wanted to dive into why we get so rattled when our kids misbehave. What are the root causes of dysregulation?
Root causes, well, one of the biggest one is you're probably looking into a mirror of yourself that you haven't even been able to integrate for yourself. Many of us don't even realize or even know how to give the verbiage of fear or helplessness. We don't know how to feel those emotions. And being a parent, ooh, you have to witness pain and know that there's nothing you can do about it. And that helplessness that comes in there is unbearable. And so that's where you have to be the accountability of holding space for yourself to feel and acknowledge. As soon as you're triggered, recognize it so that you can slow things down for yourself and be here and hold space for yourself. And, a calm and cool collected nervous system, there's no such thing. It's going to get dysregulated. Okay. So the gentle, kind parenting, it's like, you're going to yell. You're going to cause some pain or injury or insults. The biggest thing is the repair. How are you taking accountability and showing and modeling to your little humans, you know what, this is what it is to be human, and take responsibility of apologizing and owning your stuff. Letting
I'd
them
like to think that although we might sleep sometimes, we create a space between the stimulus and the response. We become more responsive and not just blow up like a volcano every time. I would love to think that it's a progress. It takes time and patience, but it still happens. What are your thoughts?
You're human. Life experiences, as they grow, they're going to mirror things within yourself that you may not have felt at those stages. Like a lot of people don't even realize, like, say if you experience trauma at a certain age, when your children become that certain age, all that stuff is going to come up in you because our nervous system goes off of feeling. And they're a part of your nervous system. So they're signaling, and you're like, wait, I remember at this age how I was feeling. Yet, if you've never integrated and allow yourself to feel those authentic emotions, they're sending you in a spiral all the time, and you may not even be able to give language for it. So you're not even able to access that space because everything you're identified with the protective defense mechanisms of the nervous system. It's to learn, oh, I have defensive mechanisms. Let me surrender them. And to be able to surrender them, you have to create safety in your body to say it's okay to feel.
It's with the body, right? It's not
All
an
the time.
intellectual process.
If it was an intellectual process, the world wouldn't be the way it is. If we could think our way out of this, the world would be great.
So we have to heal our own trauma first before we're able to be that calm parent that we all strive to be.
And for people to understand what trauma is it's separation from self. So really the healing is the journey to come back home, come back into the body, create safety in the body, create safety to feel your emotions. And when
How
I
does
say
that look in practice?
well, we just did it with the breath. I'm sure, were there feelings or sensations that were coming up when we did that 2 minutes? Did you feel anything?
I felt calm. There were the tasks that popped into my mind. But other than that, I'm very good at hiding my emotions, like putting them under. I definitely need to learn how to just acknowledge and release. And I'm eager to learn.
Okay. So how is your relationship with anger?
I get angry, but I bottle it up. It takes a lot of time until I release through yelling. Yeah, I think yelling is my outlet.
Let's put a space. You say, I get angry. I feel angry. Begin
Okay.
creating the space that it's a feeling. It's not your identity.
Ooh, that's a good point. Okay.
Okay. So you're giving space. Okay. Now, what is anger? Do you know what anger is?
I don't know how to answer that.
Anger is a protective emotion. It's the bodyguard of sadness and fear. So when you're feeling angry, you're protecting your vulnerability because your vulnerability doesn't feel safe to come out. It's not safe to show my sadness because I have to look like a strength or whatever narrative. It's not safe to feel the fear because I got to look like I have it all together.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't
So
we
now,
all?
of course, that's why I do the work that I do. It's come back to feeling. It's simple. It's not easy to do, to access, because your protective mechanisms, the defense mechanisms of the ego, have created a guard for you not to access that vulnerability because it feels unsafe. Yet you're here now to let your body know it's safe to feel these things. Back then, when we had to create these defense mechanisms, it was true. We couldn't feel that. But now we're able to. The gift of our children allow us to come back into our body if we're willing. Is it going to be messy? Yeah. You have to be able to acknowledge that it's going to be messy and allow yourself to go into the mess. But many of us want to be performative and have it all together and perfect.
Yeah, you're right. Now that I think more deeply about that, most of the time when we feel triggered and provoked by the challenging behavior our kids have, it's all fear behind that. I fear that I'm not a good parent because my kid is acting like entitled and a spoiled brat, and she's not learning the life skills I want her to learn. And it's all fear.
Yeah. And there's a bit of jealousy. Sometimes the things that you weren't able to do, you've allowed your child to do. You've created the space finally to let them have this. Yet there's a part of you that feels jealous, like you say, this entitlement and spoilt brat. And it's like, were you able to do that as a child? And a lot of times we're saying, no, we couldn't. And we don't realize we're changing the narrative, but the narrative is still etched in us so much physically that we have to release that. And like you said, the fear of, as a parent, our mind always goes to, they're going to be incarcerated, they're going to die, they're going to be addicted to drugs, they're going to be homeless. They don't get it together right now, all these things are going to happen.
Mm.
And why does it do that? Because we don't know how to feel the fear in the moment and let it pass through. Helplessness, we usually don't even know how to identify that we're feeling that. We don't even know how to bring it into our language of verbiage that, holy cow, I was feeling really helpless with my children. It was really debilitating that they were giving me the middle finger. They didn't want to eat and all this stuff. And I didn't know what to do with that. I wanted to control. Yet if we can be with the helplessness and not allow it to hijack our behavior, we see the human in front of us that is challenging their autonomy, challenging their critical thinking, possibly listening to their body. Maybe they're not hungry, but you have a narrative. You have to eat at 8. You have to eat at 5. If you're not, then you're not healthy and you're not following the guidance that the world has told us.
Yeah, and they're much better at listening to their bodies than we are.
And the not good enough, that Kool-Aid is given to parents constantly.
And it's so sad because we're doing so much. We're really trying to change these patterns. At least I was raised in an authoritative way. The threats, the bribes, all these steps that right now I'm trying not to use. Like I'm doing something different. And still, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I think for a lot of our listeners, that's the same. They feel the same way.
And that's just because you're in an uncertainty and unknown. You're walking the wilderness now. You're going against the grain of what was taught to you.
Hey there, listeners. Just taking a quick moment to share some exciting news. As of last week, I'm officially certified as a positive parenting coach. And to celebrate, I'm offering a free 30-minute coaching session to one lucky listener. In this session, we can focus on your unique parenting questions, and I'll provide guidance, support, and tools tailored just for you. To enter, simply leave a review on iTunes for the podcast, take a screenshot, and send it to me via email, DM on Instagram, or even a text. You'll find all the contact details in the show notes. I'll be picking a winner in 2 weeks, so don't miss your chance to grab some free one-on-one support. Good luck!
Spoiler alert for any listener, for myself, for you, to break patterns, we're not able to fully break patterns. You're going to replay the same thing that you experienced as a child. It's just going to look a little differently. Our nervous systems just mask it so it doesn't look exactly, so you can kind of, BS your way out of it. Yet if you're willing to see, you're like, that's the same thing my parents, I just kind of reversed it a little. And have grace for yourself. Have radical compassion for yourself. And see that, you know what? I'm doing much better than what was done to me because they weren't even willing to acknowledge it. They just placed it all on me and as if they didn't do anything wrong.
And at
You're
least then
willing.
we focus on repair, which was
Yeah.
missing.
Yeah. Repair is the most significant. You cannot stay in connection 24/7, especially with our children. We're not even able to stay in connection with ourselves all the time. We need to take a break from ourselves at times because it's just too much that goes on. Our children, it's highly stimulating. You're self-judging, you're looking at things. Unless you're able to just observe and see them as a human being, it's a lot to be in connection because all these things get triggered in us. Yet it's being able to slow things down and take accountability and create language and modeling. They can feel RBS. They can feel the energy. You could say whatever you want to say, but they're like, that tone, I know you're not telling the full truth, but you're telling me to be honest, but you're not fully being honest. And I can feel there's something going on. We want to protect them. But what are we protecting them from? Their emotions?
And a big part in parenting is understanding and holding space for their feelings. And I know active listening is a part of that. What does active listening really look like in practice?
It means being able to acknowledge that you have a part of your mind that thinks it knows everything and that your children have no intelligence when it comes to
Okay.
parenting. The active listening means to be able to acknowledge that you're going to feel some feelings, yet do not let them put filters in your perception and try to control.
Do
Listen
not.
without having to answer.
And as a parent, when you hear something you don't like, your teenager, for example, shares something really, whoa, I know that you have to keep yourself from reacting in order for them to come back to you. And this is like, I'm hiding my true feelings so I don't overreact to the thing you're saying. Is that the way to do it? What's your perspective?
I wouldn't suggest that. When they are 7 and 8, start to educate yourself about the sex and the drugs and the things so that you're well equipped, that your nervous system is prepared for these heavily charged conversations. Because denying your emotions and suppressing isn't healing. You're repeating patterns. You can acknowledge that whole. If one of my sons comes and tells me that they smoked some weed or they drank alcohol, I'm going to acknowledge, you know what? I may be a little reactive right now because there's some fear, because I'm scared that you might get harmed or what could happen. Yet I have to listen to what your story is. So don't
Okay.
shut down because you're feeling the intensity of what's going on in me. I haven't shut down my love. This is just what my emotions are feeling right now of the fear.
I love that. Just explaining to them what you're feeling right now.
Because why do children hide from their parents? They hide because they know the temperature of their emotions are going to get raised with certain things. So I don't want that, because when their temperatures are raised, that means I get punished, things get taken away. I feel like they don't love me anymore. So that's not safe.
So in this moment, other than telling them what we feel and taking a deep breath, are there any other tools we can use to settle our nervous system?
Start doing your inner work, start feeling and really being inquiring of what is going on internally for you. You know, certain parts of your character that you know can be matured or strengthened, engage in that. You don't need to look far for the work that you need to do within yourself. You don't need to look far. Don't go grasping at bigger things, thinking that's going to make everything go away. Work with what's here right now and it will unfold. You want to mature your nervous system. You want to be able to release those defense mechanisms of protection and patterns so that you can engage with the fear. It's not about not fearing. It's about having healthy fear and a healthy relationship with fear. Because your nervous system is built out of fear.
And out of fear comes courage, right?
Yes. It takes a lot of courage to listen to your child that is creating a lot of fear in you. Yet when you can hold that space and listen to them without interrupting their story, that's the safety and that's the change that we're looking for in the world.
I would love to touch upon self-care as well. We all know that self-care is important and it means different things to different people. Like for me, it's less about mani-pedis. It's more about a walk in nature, a few minutes of silence amidst the chaos that we mentioned earlier. What does self-care mean to you?
Self-care means regulating my nervous system, being able to process all the stuff that I've experienced. You see, the part of inner work, there's going to be all the stuff that you gathered as a child, and then you can clear it out. And then, you know, you have a nervous system that you understand your triggers. But moving forward, life is impermanent. So it's going to bring you experiences that are going to create reactions in you. And the self-care is not to do denial and make yourself feel better, which it does help. Yet if you're making yourself better, is it in a way to actually feel, or is it in a way to deny what you're actually feeling? That
It's an
you're kind of
escape.
using that, yes, toxic positivity,
Yeah,
because it's just building up. So create
definitely.
space for yourself to process. And like you said, it may be a mani and petty, and somebody could sit there and be in silence, and finally somebody's taking care of me. I'm getting human touch and I'm feeling better about myself. Nature is one of my go-tos. The Nordic spa with the hot saunas and cold plunges really helps me
Ooh, I love
to
that.
release the stress and tension. And I understand the chemical releases that are happening in those interactions. Vacation, swimming, water, all these things. Find what will help you to connect with yourself and to feel authentically.
Love it. And before we wrap up, I would like for you to share about your own podcast, about the work you're doing and your services so people can get connected with you.
So they can find me at liftoneself.com. That's liftoneself.com. And my podcast is under the same name, Lift Oneself. And I'm on social media, Lift Oneself. What I offer on one-to-one services, and it's done on Zoom because I deal with international clients, is regulating. And I create the safe space for people to feel and be honest and to step into that change so that they can feel authentically and step into their power. And the podcast, why I created it, was the intention to remove the stigmas surrounding mental health, that we can have dialogues to see it in different ways and also be exposed to different modalities. There's all kinds of different modalities around the world that you may not even be aware of. So I wanted to open that space up. Now that we have technology, it's so much more accessible. And on social media, I'm leaving little nuggets of wisdom and inquiries and even meditations so that people can see that they're not alone in this work that they're doing. And it's to create that community, because we're not to do it alone. We're all walking each other home. So let's remember what community is, and that we don't have to suffer in silence.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Natalie, thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us today. It's been such a meaningful conversation with a lot of aha moments. And I know our listeners are going to walk away with so much valuable insight. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
It's been an honor. Thank you, Billy, for creating this space for parents. It's very needed, and you are that light in the darkness. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening and for letting me be a part of your day. I hope this episode gave you something valuable to reflect on as you continue building those meaningful, respectful, and loving relationships with your kids. And hey, don't miss the chance to win a free 30-minute coaching session. Just enter the giveaway by leaving a review, taking a screenshot, and sending it my way. All the details are in the show notes. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.